All right. Do what you do.
All right. Today on the What's in My Head podcast, we've got Matt Hill, the voice of Ed from Ed, Ed, and Eddy. Matt, how are you?
Good. Me and Matt are doing very well. Thank you very much, Julian. There's, do you find there's a lot of things on your inside your head too that you go, oh wow, sparkly thought there. Oh, that was good too. Yeah, that's what happens.
There's some
And then I
shit
often,
my wife doesn't like me. There's some shit my wife doesn't like me putting out there and saying and stuff like that. So,
well, fair enough, fair
yeah.
enough. Absolutely. Good to be with you, brother.
Yeah, man. Good to be with you, man. It was funny because you were the first person that actually responded when I started this podcast, the second one. The first one being the Turtle Tapes, the second
Yep.
one being this one. And needless to say, you're pretty much on both. I don't know which one I'm going to release this one on yet.
Oh well, you know what? You cowbunga to both, and you will make the right choice, son. Absolutely. I feel honored. I've actually never been on two that the same person was doing from two kind of completely different worlds in terms of fans and stuff like that, right? So it's pretty cool.
Well, it's interesting because I started this by working with people and they wanted to do just a whole bunch of interviews with the original cast from the first movie.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking, I love Turtles, but I grew up on Cartoon Network. I grew up on Nickelodeon. I grew up on the Turtles. So why pigeonhole myself? Why typecast myself into a corner? And yeah, hey man. So
No, absolutely. Good on you, bro. It's
yeah,
isn't that the slice of life though, right? It's like, if it lights you up, you're going to be more inspired to talk to people about it, and so good on you. That's very, very cool.
yeah, man. And it's easy. I get to talk to people that made such a huge impact on my life. So before we get into Ed, Ed, and Eddy,
Yeah.
crazy seeing your name pop up with not only TMT3, but the next Mutation, and then Ed and Eddy, and as well
Yeah.
as many other things. How did you come about the Turtles?
Oh, the Turtles was so freaking serendipitous. I loved it because me being more on the little bit of, I'm not the tallest human on the planet. So it was a big victory for me to be able to be invited to play and participate in something that, yeah, I knew the Turtles were popular, but I didn't know how popular they
Yeah,
were. And so to get the call to audition, for any actor, it's just like, yeah, I'll do anything. That's great. So we prepared for this thing. And literally, they had us read the scenes from the first movie, where in this case, Raphael and Casey Jones were going head to head, and
yeah,
like what a Jose Canseco bat, what is such a bat, and I learned that every second of breath, every movement, every way that they did that, because that's where we were going to audition. And then when we got there, they put a paper bag on my head, and said, "Okay, now we want you to act. You want to be like a turtle, because if you get the gig, you're going to be blind, deaf, and dumb." Little did I know how truthful that was. Um, and then it was literally, it was amazing getting to go in the room, do this scene that I'd rehearsed for real, probably 100 times before I went in. And knew it almost better than I guess the actors themselves, because I knew that was my shot, because I knew I was tall enough, because all the Turtles, they said they wanted them to be between sort of like five. I think Mikey's like the shortest at like 5'3",
yeah.
and then Raph and Leo kind of tie for tallest, even though yes, technically Leo's taller, and born before him, I guess.
Yeah.
And so it was a neat thing to be a part of, that like I was jumping around like a monkey in a suit, so it fit my personality. I wasn't a gymnast, but I definitely was a runner, and so it really fed my athletic side of things, to then be able to train with world class martial artists who you know basically kicked my ass this way to Sunday, and helped me be part of the Turtles franchise. You
So
know,
when you started doing the Turtles, you said you didn't realize like how big they really were. At
yeah.
what point when you got the cast or you got that script, you like, holy shit, these guys are huge.
Yeah, well, it's funny. It was even a few moments, like a few months later. So we trained for 6 months. Me and Shashir Inakalia. He was the action turtle for Michelangelo. So he lived in Burnaby. So it was perfect, because originally we were gonna shoot it in Vancouver. And that's how I got cast. But then they moved it to Astoria, Oregon,
Mhm.
and then so they just brought us along with it. But me and Shashir had been training together. He was whipping me into shape, but it wasn't until probably when we were, I don't know, maybe been filming for a couple weeks, and more and more and more people were visiting the set, and between takes, literally, because between takes, like I had full gack on, so
Yeah.
we couldn't see anything really. You could hear people be like, "Oh man, I mean, I could only hear my puppeteer Noel
Yeah.
in my earpiece. So him and I were constant communication. So so I'd be sitting there like I'd be dying inside because it was so hot. And then I'd hear, him going, Maddie, there's two kids that are sitting on your lap. There's a mother and and a dad beside you. Look happy or whatever. So I would feel these beings be around me, and then he made a smile come on my face, and so those were kind of the early moments of, I guess, in some respects, how popular it was having the Ninja Turtles filming in Astoria. But kind of day after day after day, as like more and more people like were waiting outside the gates. So every time we'd be driving in to go onto the set, it was like a little fan base of people going like, "Oh my God, the turtles are here!" Right? And and in all honesty, it wasn't until like, I don't know, a year later, being in the movie theater for the premiere, where like it really hit me, because I'm like, I'm not famous. I was just the guy that got to play, be Raphael in this version of it. But even there, they're like, "Who are you? Where are you from?" Right? And we're walking down the red carpet and stuff. I mean, I think I was walking behind David Hasselhoff. That's what it was. David Hasselhoff and his kid, and then Alex Van Halen. Remember Van Halen, the band?
Oh yeah.
Alex Van Halen was sitting in front of me with his kid. That's what blew my mind, because I'm going like, "Oh my God, this is like, I love this band." I turned into like a little fanboy. I couldn't even
Yeah.
like, I wanted to just tap him on the shoulder and go, "Hey, cowboy, dude." And like, I'm such an idiot because I had my moment, right? And so in that respect, I went like, "Wow, I'm here. Okay, hello, this is my badge." So then you sort of realize how big this franchise really was, right?
Yeah.
So because I'm not non-tech, like I'm not really a techie kind of guy, so I didn't read industry papers. I didn't have a computer till I was 25, right? So I didn't sort of like, didn't play video games. I didn't sort of, you know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
didn't really know how big, this thing was. Well, kind of like Ed, Ed and Eddy, same thing. Oh, sorry, we're not supposed to talk about that one, are we?
Oh
Because
no, we
is this the
let look.
Turtles? This is the
No,
Turtles
completely,
podcast?
no, this is completely full form, man. You can talk about anything. We could talk about. I don't know shit about hockey. We could talk about hockey if you want. I know you're from Canada, so
Yeah.
my brother. That's my brother's sport. I'm a basketball guy, so
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. Well, I've always thought it'd be neat if we had like all the tall basketball players put into like hockey gear, and all the hockey players put into basketball gear, and just like one court that's ice, and then say, "All right, boys, have at her. See what happens." Maybe if COVID-19 gets a vaccine, I think we might see it. But
I
no,
think that's $1 million idea, and you should really start getting in on that.
Here, it's all yours, bro.
So
Uh,
it's funny. I always like talking with you guys and meeting you guys, and I like hearing your fandom or that moment. You're like, "Holy shit!" There's like, this is this guy I listen to.
yeah.
Other than Van Halen, has there anybody else that you've notably been like just fanboyed out on?
Uh, well, I wasn't a huge fan. Obviously, David Hasselhoff. I thought, holy shit, that guy's got a huge show. His wife at that, maybe I don't know what wife number it was. She was so hot.
At least
Um,
17.
Maybe, yeah, I guess so. But it was just really like, that was a moment for me, because I also was connected to the project. So I had my past that, even though nobody knew who I was, they'd look at the thing and it just says, you get the green zone or whatever. So
Yeah.
I basically just walked around and just, like saw people and just like, "Oh my God, that's like so and so over there. Oh my God, that's that person from that show." Right. For like, I don't know, a couple hours or whatever, when we had the premiere and stuff. But it was cool, because for me, that was the biggest movie that I'd have been a part of,
Yeah.
since I'd started, right? And for me, just getting another gig, that's what it was all about for me. I was just so stoked to be working in the chosen field that I said I wanted to do when I was 13, you know, and then see it come to fruition. It was kind of other people that went like, dude, like for real, you realize how big this is, right? You know, and I don't know, maybe I was just blind to it because I was thinking like, okay, I just wanted to keep my job,
Yeah.
right?
That's always a great motivating factor.
Well, it kind of is. Even being, you know, like that. It's like even being on a series. I like if you mess up more than 3 or 4 times, you think like, oh my god, they're gonna fire me. I'm not getting it, you know. And you know, and yeah, sometimes they do let you go, and you know, but other times it's just part of the creative process. And
Yeah.
sometimes you gotta bang your head against the wall a few times, and you know, like Ed, Ed and Eddy. I think I still have the record for most takes on one effing line that it was a stupid laugh where Ed just had to kind of go like, well, yeah, it's simple, Eddie, or whatever. And Danny was like, oh, he's not being Ed today. And I'm like, what do you mean not being Ed? I don't know. He's like, that's Ed. But when you do the line, you're not being Ed, you know? And so it was just like maddening. I'd be like, okay, take 20, you know, or whatever. And I finally, like, out of desperation, I guess I did it right. Cause he's like, well, if that's the best he's got, then, you know, let it go, I guess, you know. And I'm like, you know, it's like, I love you, I hate you, I love you, I hate you.
Nothing like being chopped down, I suppose.
Oh yeah. And yeah, we definitely earned our cake for that show for sure. You know, but you know, once again, for it to be Cartoon Network's highest rated show, there's a reason it was, because also, I mean, obviously there's lots of factors. It's timing, it's style of show. It was like the brilliant inside of all these characters that Danny Antonucci had, that literally every single thing was inside his brain,
Yeah.
and all the brilliant people who worked with him to go, I have no idea what he means, but I'm gonna figure out what the fuck he means, so that you know what I mean, so that I can do my job
Yeah.
and, well, keep my job, but also at the same time have this vision of these three Eds who live on a freaking cul-de-sac, who have these crazy, you know, friends, ragtag, you know, group of friends,
Yeah.
and you parents that you never meet, right? And it was brilliant, right? And so we all felt very akin to, you know, this project called Ed, Ed and Eddy, you know.
Yeah.
So it was such an honor to be a part of it, you know.
It was growing up. I think it aired in '99. I'm pretty sure this was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, 99. Yep.
What a cartoon and cartoon, just Cartoon Network in the '90s alone for most kids. I'm only 31, but for most kids growing up now, I got a 10-year-old.
Such a baby.
Well, it's funny because I got a 10-year-old now, and I'm showing him everything that I loved, I watched, or I enjoyed growing up.
Yep.
And seeing his connection with it, and then seeing what he's having to watch on Cartoon Network. Nothing against Cartoon Network, nothing against Disney or Nickelodeon. It's just that shit 20 years ago was so damn ahead of its time.
Yeah, you're
for
right.
them to cancel it and sweep you guys' legs out. I mean,
I know.
some people are nice, or some people are lucky enough to get one episode, let alone I think it was like 137 or something like it was a huge number. It went syndication, I believe.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
You know, but to see that kind of, I mean, what do you get noticed for more? Do you get noticed more for Raph or Ed?
It for a while it was pretty much dead equal, Raph and Ed.
Mhm.
And in the last few years, it's, I mean, Ed all the way.
Yeah.
Like it's just had this, because you nailed it, dude. It's now you kids who watched it growing up now have kids that you're going like, oh yeah, no, hey, Johnny, you know, you know, Johnnyette, come here, I got something to show you, right? And so kids are growing up on this, and you know, here's a neat thing, that it was another light bulb moment where I went like, holy shit, this is huge. It wasn't for the Turtles, but it was when, well, it was Turtles as well as Ed, Ed and Eddy. But when we went, I was part of a team of 2 that we ran around North America, called Run for One Planet. So we literally ran a marathon each a day to get around. So we went across our country first, and then we went around the perimeter of America. So it took us 369 days to do this tour. We spoke to 50,000 kids. We did 220 school presentations and community presentations as well. It was in those thousands and thousands of meetings with people, when everything from, say, like that, like it's having an interaction with someone like you, say, in person, that goes like, oh my God, you're Raphael. And then I go, yeah, and I also played Ed. And they would like lose their proverbial, you know what. But
Yeah.
then it would be macroed into a school of like 2,500 middle school kids who, you know, if you're not funny, you're like a crocodile in a freaking meat shop. They'll eat you alive, right? And because how old's your kid?
He's 10.
Yeah, he's into that, like, dad, whatever, right?
Yeah.
If you don't bring it, you're like, but if you bring it, but with these kids, the second that I realized out of desperation that we would have them as a way to connect with them, if I actually allowed the truth of these cartoons that they were growing up on, that they loved,
Yeah.
right? So in respect to, say, America, especially in 2008, because the economic meltdown was melting, right? You know, the whole of the East Coast was for sale and in foreclosure. And it was the schools that we were invited into that the second I went, like, you know, like, because that's how we ended up opening most of the presentations, right? I'd be like, oh, hello, everybody. You know, who wants to save the planet with Ed and Sparkly Stephanie? Because that was my partner's name, Stephanie. And 2,500 kids and their teachers would lose their shit. And I'm not kidding you. They'd be like, yes, we'll do anything. Just, you know, so it became this unbelievable catalyst of connection that allowed us to also say, in this case, share a message to take healthy actions for the planet.
Yeah.
But it was based on thousands of times that they'd watched these shows and these characters, Raphael and the Turtles included, that allowed instant access into their hearts, their brains, their ways to be able to connect and make a difference as well, right? And oh man, like, talk about a feedback loop, right? You know, and it was those thousands of kids that I got all these amazing interactions with, that then, like, even say, like, in one respect, like, even parents and teachers. There was a teacher in a middle school in Houston, and they're called, I think they're called Cesar Chavez. That seems to ring a bell. And they're this type of school that basically they put up shop in the poorest neighborhoods.
Mhm.
And the mandate is to take all these kids from kindergarten through to college is the mandate of these schools. But they kind of run them as almost like a military style. Not that they're military, but they teach the kids honor. They teach the kids code.
Yeah.
They teach the kids basically what was so serendipitous, the way of the turtle, really.
Yeah.
So I'd step in and be Raphael going, yeah, yo, Cesar Chavez School in, Houston, Texas. Who wants to save the planet with Raph, right? And same thing. But this one particular day, this teacher who was taller than, like, turned out he was an ex-NBA. He was on like somebody's team.
Yeah.
But this teacher who was the principal, who was running it like a military college. So you're making 2,000 kids, right? Going like, hey, Mr. Hansen, right? And you could see that he loved these kids, but they had to treat them, they had to teach them this way so that, like, when two people like us were presenting, there wasn't a lot of interaction at the beginning. So, Steph looked at me, she's like, holy shit, I think we might get killed, guys. We better be funny or we better just go, right?
Yeah.
And literally, once again, I'm like, hey kids, who wants to save the planet with Ed? And oh my God, kids crazy. Then I go, yeah, and yo, who wants to, with Raphael too? And this teacher lost his, like, he's just like, no, oh my God. So I knew I had him. Kids always lined up for, like, basically we signed kids everything from the first kid to the very last 2000th kid, because they just wanted, obviously they wanted our autographs or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And this teacher waited in line till the very end, and I thought, what a great guy! Holy crap, he's gonna thank us for being there. Comes up and he's like, brother, I wanted to thank you guys for being here and doing what you do. And then he started tearing up, and he goes, because I also want to thank you for being part of Raphael, because I grew up in a very abusive family. My dad wasn't the nicest man. I also knew that I needed to basically live the code of the turtle. And he said it was rough, Raphael being kind of like gruff and misunderstood, that he said helped him get through this really rough childhood.
Yeah.
To then grow up and decide, okay, he said watching the Ninja Turtles was the very reason how he ended up becoming like a teacher. Then he ended up becoming like the principal, because he watched these shows that really taught him that he wasn't, powerless. He could make good choices. He could have a posse of brothers that, that he could rely on. And, so like, once again, these cartoons that we did that are supposed to just be, like, woohoo, let's just make them laugh,
Yeah.
actually were changing lives. And I think in some respects, that's, for me, that's the proverbial, like, a legacy gift for being part of being with Ed and Raph, especially, right? And the Turtles. Because, I mean, I got invited by that. There's a group called Cameo where fans, where you can record messages for your friends and stuff. So once again, Ed and Raph are the two main dudes that I get asked to do, right? And I bet you 90% of the emails that come in say, you had such a big deal with my childhood.
Yeah.
Thank you for helping my childhood be better, right? So it's, I guess to sort of circle back to your question, going like, what was the light bulb moment of these shows being so huge? They sort of continue on to this day. Because you just said it too. It's now your kid is watching it. Nice job, well done. But it's real, because you don't, when you were a kid, you don't watch stuff that you don't like. You don't watch stuff that doesn't make you laugh. So unfortunately, kids today, I don't know what's going on. I mean, I hope, I believe there's really creative, smart people, but I think people are maybe not trusting that maybe they can create something new that's out there, and they don't have to, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that the cartoons now are horrible. It's just everything is so cookie cutter, it seems. You've got everything that looks identical. There was like 5 or 6 shows my kid would watch.
Right.
And other than voices, you couldn't tell a considerable difference between one character and the next. It was the looks, the way they walked, everything like that.
Yeah.
And
sort of like, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, it's sort of like the mid 2000s version of what was it? Transformers and Ninja Turtles. They kind of look the same.
It's just always crazy that they want people to be different. They want stuff to be different. Yet it's the same things that are getting greenlit. Yeah, and that was so great. Even though 4 turtles, they all identically look the same, just with a different mask, right? Yeah. And then you got Ed, and Eddy. You've got a guy or a girl or a fucking piece of wood named Plank as a main character.
Yeah.
And it's just insane that you guys have all of these personalities, all of these crazy, wacky adventures, and everything just goes like this instead of, going like this. Everything is just cohesive. Everything's a wave.
Oh yeah, it's totally a wave. It's a wave. It's a wave, but then sometimes the wave crashes down on you. It's yeah, you nailed it, dude. And that's the brilliance. Again, I gotta hand it to Danny for having all these characters in his head that he somehow was able to articulate and share enough with all those that created, then the characters from that, what was inside his brain, to then have what we had with that show. Because we all, like, as the voice actors say, we all bled for that show, because there was sometimes our vocal cords were bleeding because we were working so hard to bring that vision to life, right? I think we did a good job. It's everybody did, right? Because we all,
good is not strong enough of a word, man. You guys did a fantastic job on the show.
Thank you, friend. Yeah. Well, but even, it's funny, it's the one that we consistently, because I get together, me and Sammy are, besties, and who play Double D, and we often say, like, it's since then, it was the show that we all were super stoked to be there every day, but like 3 or 4 moments throughout every session were thought, holy shit, we're gonna get tossed because we're not getting because it was constantly, so it was almost like living in total, like, not fear, and then living in fear. So there was an energy to it, because like that was Danny's favorite thing. He'd be like, energy, and like sometimes you're like, oh, I don't want to hear that ever again, right? Because I'm pretty energetic, but when the director's saying, man, you're not being Ed today, I'm like, oh, I don't know how not to be Ed, but it's amazing because even getting the freaking job set a record, because we'd never had 8 callbacks before on a show ever, right?
What do you mean by 8 callbacks?
2 callbacks, maybe 3. then the network shows up and they're in the other side of the glass in the bubble and, the fish tank or whatever. And we're all going like, hey, what do you think? Does this work? And they're like, hey, try it this way. Okay, oh yeah, that's it. But with Ed and Eddy, it was, so ultimately it was probably 12 callbacks, even though the first 4 were not official callbacks. Yeah. They just said, yeah, well, let's bring them back in. We knew we were getting further down the line when for the last 4, it was 3 definite distinct sets of cast, or 2. So we had 2 versions of Ed and 2 versions of Double D, because 2 groups of us were going in and reading the scene, and then they'd be like, okay, go outside, yeah, we're going to talk about it, whatever. And then they'd bring us back and they'd mix and match us with different actors that were like, so we kind of, through deduction, we went like, oh, okay, well, looks like there's only, that guy's only got 1 Ed's lines right now. Yeah. And out of sheer desperation on that, probably, I think one of the last final ones, I remember seeing Danny going like, because I think back then you could still smoke in the studio, and he was just like, you could see he was going like, oh, this fucker's so close, but he's not, he's not getting it or whatever. And out of desperation, I've never done this since. I went, excuse me, and I went, and I touched the mic cover, which you never do, right? As an actor, so instantly I knew, oh fuck, the engineer Wes, he's gonna kill me, because you don't do it. But I did it so lightly, but enough that I was just like, excuse me, oh hi, and then literally they look up at me like, and I go, how do you get water from this thing here? And like, Danny went, oh my god, and then he's yelling at Wes going like, did you get that? And I'm like, oh my god, I'm fired before I even got hired. Wes is ready to kill me, but he goes, yeah, I did. And they go, play it to him. So they played it to me. Then, how do you get water from this thing here? And he goes, that's Ed, do that, just do that, right? I'm like, what? I just say like, how do you get water? He's like, yes. So be vacant, we just want Ed to come in from freaking sideways and come through the scene. We want him to come from below. We want him to come from the top. So it was such a moment to then, thank God Wes recorded it, because then for the first 13 episodes, every time I wasn't getting it, I'd see Danny just going like, play him the fucking line, just play him a line, right? So for 13 episodes, I get to hear like, how do you get water from this thing here? But it became Ed's tagline. Yeah. Right? For, you know what I mean? To just get me right back into the scene, and so it's, it's amazing. And,
I always like hearing that inside baseball term. I don't know shit about baseball. I don't know about baseball, but I hear other people say it. It always sounds really cool, inside baseball. So it's nice to, finally throw it on a podcast. How many, now this is a little bit off subject, but it's still Ed Boys. Yeah. How many times have you rolled through Tim Hortons and ordered in Ed's voice?
You know what's wild, dude? If we had Tim Hortons in America, I would. Canada, and I still to this day, I have no idea why. Our wonderful Cartoon Network version up in Canada called, I don't even know what the hell they're called, Teletoon, they somehow thought, Ed and Eddy, that's a stupid show. They never aired it in Canada. Not one episode. So nobody in Canada. So our first marathons across Canada, I go like, oh, hey, everybody, Ed. People are like, oh, we haven't watched Ed. And I'm not kidding you. It was, thank God I was doing Care Bears at the time. So at least I could, get the ladies with tender hearts. And Raphael, was a big one too. But it's amazing. But it wasn't until we hit America, that same thing. And then it was just like, I pulled that out and it was like, holy crap, what? Right. So unfortunately, I think Canadian kids got chipped or gypped out of this brilliant series, because it's produced in Vancouver, it's made in Vancouver, it's fun. I mean, obviously, it was then broadcast on Cartoon Network, but the Canadian broadcasters couldn't have had a better show to run till the rest of time. I mean, we didn't even talk about it ever, because Danny would just lose his crap. He was never one to not share how he was feeling. So, let's just leave it at that. But so Tim Hortons. So if Ed went to Tim Hortons now, they probably call the cops. Like, roll up the rim to win. Or they'd go, oh, that guy's a really cool guy. Huh. cool voice, whatever. But yeah.
The first time I ever had Tim Hortons, I was stationed over in Norfolk, Virginia, and it was the only place that you could actually get in and get out. And what were they? They only called Dunk, because that's Dunkin'. But the
yeah. But yeah, roll up the rim to win. That's a Tim Hortons thing for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I can't think. What do you guys call those? Dunkin' Donuts calls them the Dunkin' Dots or whatever. But they were small.
Oh, Timbits.
There you go. I couldn't think of the name, man. You could go over there and get like 30 of them for $15, $12, and you just smash the rest of the day.
Oh, these beautiful. I know. That's I found Timbits on our Run for One Planet tour, because I was always one step away from bonking, because I was so out of calories. So literally be like, and then have a Timbit and just be like, woohoo, I'm back, baby.
How did your body feel on that marathon every day though?
It's neat. It literally, we trained for 18 months.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
To get ready for that, right? So as our, we went, but it's amazing. The day that we decided to do this tour, Steph, my co-partner in this, her limit was 10K, because she hadn't been a runner to begin with. I'd been running my whole life and track, and I think by that point I'd done 8 Ironmans. So I was versed in knowing, okay, how to kind of use the small steps add up mentality, and also mileage to go, okay, well, start where you are, right? So when we decided to do the run, like when I shared with her what I was thinking, and she said, yeah, you know what, I'd really love to come too. That day, her limit was 10K. So in the spirit of Run for One Planet, we went, okay, well, we're going to run around North America eventually. Let's do 2 loops around this Burnaby Lake place that we were running in. So, in one fell swoop, we doubled our mileage. Yeah. So she slept for the rest of the weekend because she was so bad. But it really showed you that's where we started from, right? And then so 18 months of slow incremental training, like within, I were probably running like 5 days a week. Mm-hmm. So from 10K went to 15, went to 20, went to 30. Then we jumped up within about 3 months. We were running our first marathon, but we would run them consistently. So we would typically run the big long stuff on the weekends. So we would usually go like a Friday night, especially in the spring when it's light out a lot.
Yeah.
And we would run a marathon on the Friday, and then we would run hills on the Saturday, which would be 2 times up and down this mountain where we live here in Vancouver, that would simulate the Rocky Mountains, right? Yeah. So we would do, we'd end up doing a marathon on that. And then we go back and do the same marathon route on Sunday, called the lower route, because it wasn't as hilly, right? So we really got used to, in a short span of time, running basically being like going to the office every day, right? Yeah. But except for like a business suit and business shoes, we had a dry fit shirt, a bamboo eco fit shirt, and runners and shorts, right? And that was our uniform, right? And it really, by the time we got to the starting day on May 4th, 2008, it was go time. Like, even like our bodies were going like, all right, okay, it's time to do this, right? And it's amazing what the body goes through. We had amazing, obviously, support chiropractically, nutritionally, as we did all the training, because same thing, even though I was an experienced marathoner, sorta, I'm more of a slow turtle, right? But that's why I'm true to the name. But for me, it's always been around be sustainable in what it is that I do. Mm-hmm. And if I got an injury, thank God I had the support of, one of my best friends, who's like a dad to me, who's also just an amazing chiropractor, and, and the billion other things that he does when your body is wrecked.
Give him a shout out.
Sorry. Yeah. Oh, Don Grant. Yeah. Don Grant and Associates, I tell you. Coastal Wellness here in Port Moody. So if any of your listeners ever need chiropractic support, but his son is now a chiropractor there too, and his wife is as well. So you get the whole family, right? Yeah. It's amazing to like that. It's you have all these relationships that were born out of a love of doing something, mm-hmm. that then turn out to be like lifelong, and they literally keep you running on the the marathon of your life. For me, it just happens to be real marathons, right? It's amazing where the body starts to feel like that's more the normal thing to do. So like early on, obviously you had little bumps. So then you know, hit a plateau, and then you reach another peak, and then you have a bit of a rest period and you go down. But running our marathons a day literally was more the normal feeling of going, oh, okay, oh, all right, okay, wake up. Thank God I've been an early waker for my whole life. So
Yeah.
for me to wake up at 4, I would typically start the first marathon pull, because we did them in 4 or 10K sections.
Mhm.
So we would go 42.2 every day. So I would do that, and so would Steph. So even within that 42.2 each, we would break it down into 10K sections. So
Yeah.
so we would do it 4 times, but it would be spaced out. So I'd have like an hour break between each run pull. So we literally just leapfrogged each other around the continent, right? But it turned out to be the most sustainable way to do it.
Yeah.
And also, as the tour started to get going, we actually needed that extra time to have a bit of a rest. But more so, it was mostly because we had so much freaking work to do. Because we both give each other like a whole bunch of to-do lists, on our break, right? So, but if we even had like a couple weeks off doing events in towns, it was amazing because our body would suck in all this extra nutrition. But at the same time, then there would be like a moment, anything longer than 2 weeks of a break, and it was just like,
You're like itching and shit.
I got to get going again, right?
Yeah.
And then as we found out, unfortunately, the hard way, having like a few extra days break, plus I am such a big eater, so I gained another 15 pounds on like that was a wet noodle. I think I was like 120, like soaking wet at one point. But I gained weight fast. But those first 3 days back to the marathons, oh, it was so painful.
Yeah.
It was like we'd never run a day in our life, because I ate so many carbs, so many, like, in the States. Have you ever had hush puppies?
Oh,
From
I'm from the South. Well, I think we
Oh,
invented it down here. Yeah.
what is with hush puppies? They're like Timbits on crack.
Oh yeah.
They're so good.
We
Oh,
used to do these
like,
crawfish ones. I work in a. Everybody's gonna hate me saying this because I've said it at least once because food always comes up, right?
yeah,
So I'm a chef, and we
yeah.
work down here, and we used to do these crawfish ones with a gator sauce. Yeah, so we take crawfish, saute it down with onions and garlic, mix it in there, deep fry it, all the bad stuff, and then just a shit ton of mayo sauce on
Oh,
top.
but it's so good. It's like it's like soul food, man.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about the South too, right? Because everyone, like, and I'm not kidding you, like moms, teachers, everyone's like, man, y'all are so skinny. Here, eat this. Right? They
Yeah.
throw food in our face, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. So like in the South, it's honestly God, even though we were still running a marathon each a day, so we're blowing through 4,000 calories. I
What
gained weight in the South because they kept feeding me because they thought I was just too skinny, right?
what are you eating?
We ate, oh my God, my favorites, like, I probably 3 well-loaded protein shakes to get going in the morning. And in that I'd have like chocolate protein powder, blueberries, yogurt, scoops of all this other, I don't know what the heck it was, but like special stuff. That Dawn gave us. It's like desert dust and stuff.
It's go-go
Um,
juice.
Minerals and stuff. Yeah. But like in all honesty too, it was fueling ourselves with a lot of whole foods. Like my favorite was like I'd have like a 6 egg omelet
Yeah.
at 4 a.m. and that would literally last me for half the marathon every single day. So
What was in that omelet?
it got to be pretty simple, right? To go, okay, 6 eggs, like cheese, spinach, avocado, keep it simple.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what I did every day. At some point in the day, I'd have a 6 omelet, protein and carbs meal or whatever, right?
How often did you get tired of eggs though, or was that something you look forward to?
Never got tired of eggs. Oh,
No.
I love eggs. Yeah, they're so good.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's like different regions that we went in, different things would be offered to us as different sort of like additions to, make your eggs taste better or, but for the most part, like even when we got into like the growing states like Arizona and California, then it just became more, like your fruit salad was on the freaking side of the highway.
Yeah.
It was amazing to like, jump into a ditch and, jump over the ditch, hopefully. And, like pick some, like, whatever citrus fruit was growing, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of grapefruits, like, you know, and then avocados, and then running through fields of spinach, and like it was amazing. It was such a gift.
What was your favorite? What was your favorite? Like, so I've traveled all over the country and I've traveled all over the world
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah.
And then there's two places that I always say that have had the prettiest, and I guess prettiest is the only word you can really come to mind, at least, is the prettiest sunrise and sunset.
Oh,
Prettiest sunrise is by far New Mexico, at least for me, driving through, seeing all those mountains, seeing all those plateaus. What was your favorite state, or what was your favorite area to run through when you were doing this?
oh my God, you just like gave me images. I like, it's funny. Yes, New Mexico, sun, like whatever. I can't even remember what direction we were, so I can't remember if it was sunrise or sunset. Um, but like that desert, I love the South. I love the desert.
Yeah.
But then I remember having a moment where like we were just crossed into Maine, and it was October because it was really cool. It was almost just before Halloween. So it hadn't frosted over, but it was super, super almost frosty.
Yeah.
And so the sky, and I'll never forget, I got up to can you say take a pee? I got up to take a pee.
So whatever, man.
Okay, so yeah, I had to relieve myself. In the middle of the night, it was probably, I'm guessing, maybe 3 a.m. because I was up at 4. And I went out there, did my business, and I literally was gobsmacked with the clarity, like the clearness in the sky, and then the stars. And then I could so it must have been closer to 4 because I could see almost like the twilight almost kind of happening.
Yeah.
And to this day, that moment still just gives me goosebumps when I talk about it, because it made me really realize how not alone we are actually in the world, right? Because I had those opposite moments where we felt like, holy shit, nobody knows we're out here, nobody cares, nobody, like, what the, what, blah 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 blah. We had 10, the RV almost burned down today. We've still got 400 miles to go. We've got kids waiting for us. But then somebody would drive by and I'd hear, "Run, Forrest, run!" Right? So it was just like, yes, okay, somebody knows we're out here, right? And so it would always be this unbelievable juxtaposition between, like, sleep deprivation, but the best sleep ever, calories in, calories out, but then people feeding you the stinkiest clothes I'd ever been in my life. And, a beautiful lady in the South or wherever we were in Canada would just pick us up, throw us and our clothes in the shower. And, we'd get a good meal in the shower and a great sleep or whatever. Right.
That's awesome.
But then, probably one of the biggest moments of a sunrise, I'll never, or no, actually, no, it was a sunset. That's right. Was coming from Eastern Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
We were getting close to California because we knew it on the map, obviously, right? Because we were running right along the border. So we had the US, those guys knew us well. They're like, yeah, there's those crazy Canadians. They're running for the planet. Like, they were always just like, where are you running from? Right. And we'd be like, well, actually we're running, around North America. And when they checked our plates, they're like, holy shit, they're not lying. Right. So we had the posse of these amazing men and women in those vehicles, right? Going like, toot toot, remember, get off the road at sundown, right? Kind of thing. Because obviously we were right on the border, right? It's but it was amazing this one day because we were so close to California, and it was like the dry Arizona desert. You know that smell, right?
Oh yeah.
And then we'd smell the spinach and all this. But then that one particular day, as I finished, the sun was setting over the west as literally we crested this big massive hill, and it said, "Welcome to California."
Mm-hmm.
And you couldn't have scripted it better because I got this like unreal rush of salt air, mixed with the Pacific, mixed with all the sage, all the other stuff, all the spinach, all the avocados, hit me in the head. And I just about sobbed because I was going like, oh my God, we're almost in California, even though we had a few days to still run to the coast or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But it was like, holy shit, we've got one leg to go, pardon the pun, but right? Because we took it in 4 big sections, right?
Yeah.
But it was amazing because that sunset said so much of how I was feeling and how we had been on the road for so long. And 18 months before that, decided to do this big one looper around our continent.
Yeah.
And so seeing this sunset and then be, gifted with like the smell of the Pacific, because that's the smell I know well because I've grown up in Vancouver,
Yeah.
right? And like my work's always been Vancouver to LA, right? So I know the coast so well, right? And so I mean, for me, it was like what this collusion of
Yeah.
oh my god, and even though then it becomes very apparent very quickly, you still have 3 months of running to do, motherfucker. Sorry. But you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
like Ed would always be like, oh, don't get ahead of yourself, young mister. You still have to put one foot in front of the other a few more kilometers.
How many times did Ed come out when you were running?
Oh my God, every day. Like, oh, what are you like? Hey, hi, oh, hi, buddy. Oh, yeah, like, hey, everybody. Oh yeah, yes. I think I finally embraced it. It's like, okay, he's with me for life, just like Raph,
I mean, it's two good voices to have. I mean, you everybody says you could have voices in your head, you just don't want to interact with them. But as long as you interact with them, okay.
It's funny. I got asked to do a TED talk a few years ago, and it was such an honor to put it together because I knew I had to start with these voices. So that's exactly how I did it. I started with Ed saying, good morning, Brentwood College, and then Raph going, hey, yo, what's going on? And then, I'm like, oh, hello, I'm Tenderheart, and you guys, oh, what a beautiful looking group of students, and then literally this collusion of all three of them trying to get a word in, right? And I somehow going, hey, excuse me, guys, hey, I'm trying to talk to Brentwood College. Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead, man. Yeah. Oh, don't remember to tell them to take care of themselves, right? And then I get to step forward and be Matt or whatever, right? So, but it's like what a gift, right? Like I feel so blessed because I mean, I've worked hard, but at the same time, I realize I think it's the same for all of us, right? When we make these choices to do something, and how maybe even if it's that sort of almost like that whisper or that calm,
that aha moment.
Yeah, right. That light bulb that's inside of us. That's where I feel that's what we're all here to do, right? Because it's all, look at all the ways. I bet you if we talked to you for an hour, you'd be able to tell me all those same moments for you.
Yeah.
Of going, oh my God, here's how it led me to here. Holy crap, I face planted and completely shit the bed doing that. But it allowed me to do this because things almost at the end of the day work out better than expected, right?
Yeah.
Even when we think maybe they haven't, right? But if we sit there and don't do anything, then okay, nothing happens, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes we do have to sit there and go like, oh, man, that sucked. Huh. Then you go, oh, what's that over there? For me, it's like, ooh, sparkly, ooh, light bulb, right? So I come by it honestly, at least.
Well,
but for me, sir, go ahead.
No, go for it.
Well, for me, it's always kind of like answering that light bulb or the call to the journey, or because really we're all heroes on our journey. That's really we're all humans being here on the earth, right? To me, that's what makes me feel so grateful to be alive, because that's where I believe the problems of world health, the problems of like all the problems we're facing right now. It's why we can solve them, because we are smarter than we sometimes allow ourselves to be, right? And it's the second that we go, holy shit, what, this is happening? Okay, all right, you know what? All these amazing brains all support each other in being uniquely them, usually tend to solve some of the biggest issues that we face. Right. But it's when we're all, nope, I'm going to be solo and I'm not going to share anything with you. I'm not even going to put my light on. I'm not even going to put my camera on. But yet, you know what I mean? There's a certain, I think, irony in that, right? Where the second that we actually allow ourselves to be vulnerable and actually share, and I don't mean it like, when you know what I mean? When you just go like, oh, well, blah, 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 I did this and it's not about that. It's about, I think, authentically sharing ourselves in the world that then maybe might even inspire someone else to go like, yeah, man, like look at all the people in your life, right? They see you being you, right? And probably go like, man, I'll never do a podcast, but holy shit, I might be a hockey player, or I might be a football player, right? Or maybe they'll be a podcaster, right?
9 times out of 10, they're going to be a hell of a lot better one than I am. I'm just sitting here talking shit with people I've just grew up loving. You know, when you were just talking, can we say, or can we have a what's it called? Fuck, man, my brain's kind of all over the place right now. But I guess you heard it here first. Are you saying Ed 2020? Is that what you're saying?
Ooh, Ed 2020. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think. What are you intimating at? I mean, meaning like the cartoon's gonna go again? No,
man. You just need to run for office, man. You got a really good grip on all this shit.
Thank you very much. I mean, you know, I think the world does need a little more Ed. If I was American, I might throw my hat in the ring. I mean, I'm smart, but I don't think I'm that smart. I don't think, you know. Well, some people would say you're not that stupid, but you know that's different schools of thought, right? But yeah, I don't know, man. It's interesting because it's an interesting time for me that I've actually come out of like a decade of some of my most busyness, if you will.
Yeah.
And you know, working and having so many new projects that I was at some points. You know, as an actor, holy crap, it's such a problem to have,
Yeah.
right? Oh my God, I'm so tired, but I worked on 5 shows this week for, you know, 5 years. That's like, oh my God, thank you, God. And then interestingly enough, I guess the universe was saying, Matty Hill, you're going to have a break. Because you know, all the shows I was doing, they stopped. They got, you know, they either just had their course or they got canceled or they just didn't get picked up. And I've had probably one of the slowest 3 years of my 30 years of, you know, being a voice guy. So it's been a really beautiful time for me to kind of really take stock at year 33. Okay, how do I want to share my voice forward? And so it's been obviously going back, because for me it's always going back to the run. And because before COVID, I was actually set to go across. I was going to go across Canada again, and then if things were looking like I could go into the States, I was going to essentially do Run for One Planet, you know, 2.0. But then COVID obviously arrived, and so, you know, as we've all had to do, we've had to rejig how we connect, right? Because for me, it's kids in schools and cartoons and running, right? I mean, slow, right? But it's still true for me, even at 52. I feel even more passionate to share this message with kids because, you know, kids need, I think, a connector point to and it doesn't mean I have all the answers, not far from it, but I'm willing to be an adult, so-called, in that conversation to go like, you know what, you guys are pint-sized eco, you guys are heroes already being you. Let's empower you even more, right? So for me, it's always been that way. So it's been interesting to rejig. And so on Earth Day, I started, you know, running a marathon a day, and I covered between April 22nd and August 15th. I covered almost 3,000 K, so 69 marathons, knowing that I was hoping in my delusional self that we were going to get greenlit to go more, you know, leave our bubble, let's say.
Yeah.
But obviously with COVID, you know, still a big part of our lives. I was like, okay, I can still do something. So now I'm going to go back, and I've been writing a book for the last year. So I'm in the middle stages of a book called Turtle on the Run. And so essentially stories from my life and lessons learned, and, you know, face plant moments, but then get up and, you know, repeat it till you learn the lesson, like that sort of a, you know, that sort of a book. It's going to be, well, my goal is it'll be finished in January, and then we'll go to print after that. So I'm going to self-publish it. So it'll be yeah. So it's a neat way to go. Like, yeah, you know what? It's a great way to be able to, like, I don't know, share what I've felt as well. You know.
You gonna throw it on Kickstarter?
I'm doing it. I don't know. I think I'm doing it on isn't it Amazon?
Amazon, but Kickstarter is where you can put it out there, and then you put specific tiers in there. Say, I'm trying to reach this amount of money, and then as long as you hit these tiers, like you can set up tiers, anything as low as I think it's $5. You have 5, 10, 100, or whatever. And I've seen some of these tiers go out, and they're like, I'll make a phone call to you if you go and pledge this much, or you'll get something, you know, signed or something like that. Yeah. So That way it doesn't have to come out of your pocket, because there's fans like myself that would love to go out there and support you and support what you're doing, man.
Wow, I had never thought of that, dude.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Maybe we could have a chat about this at another point, because
Yeah,
that might actually be. I never even thought of that, because I'm old school. I'm always like, well, if you want to do something, do it yourself, and
yeah.
pay for it myself. So I am. I mean, I've been obviously, I'm not paying myself to write it, but in order to print it and do all that sort of stuff, yeah, I was gonna, I'm working with an editor, thank God, because it's gonna run on, you know. But yeah, so I'm literally, after this podcast, I'm gonna go out and do another. Well, probably won't do a whole marathon today, because I have another. Sorry, I have another podcast interview at 6. You're not my only one. Is that okay?
Oh, it's perfectly fine, man. I'm just glad you did this one.
Oh, I feel honored. But yeah, so I'll probably do half a marathon today, because my last chapter in the book's called 21 Days of Discovery and Beyond. So originally it was going to be 21 days to discover starting the next Run for One Planet journey. But then when COVID arrived, I was like, oh, okay, well, now it's 21 days and beyond COVID, letting COVID help guide your way.
Yeah.
So it's now the lesson that I've been learning over the last few months, coupled with the lessons I've learned over the last 3 very quiet years,
Yeah.
of, I guess, in a way, rejigging what it is I do. And, interestingly enough, these voices continue to be the things that allow to be that fuel. So that's what I think is just like, oh my God, thank you, right? So yeah, I'm stoked, dude. It's it feels really good. I think, I mean, maybe for all of us, I'm I'm never openly stoked for a year to kind of come to a close.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I mean it this way, where I think for all of us, I think we could really feel good knowing that there's not a ton of months left in 2020.
Yeah.
For me, that's what's lit the fire under my butt to go, okay, I'm going to finish this book. And also start my next set of marathons,
Mm-hmm.
so that it keeps me grounded, but it also keeps me open to what I call my downloads that are given to me. And they seem to be done when I'm on the move.
Yeah.
Some people it's sitting in the bathtub. Some people it's, like, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
Some people it's, yeah, I feel really stoked and grateful because, I know if it's one thing that's even stronger in me now, I believe in the power of the human spirit, because I really believe we got this. I really believe that we're finding our way through. And it doesn't matter what political spectrum anybody comes from or what socioeconomic situation we're in. Interestingly, a pandemic is the thing that actually links us all together, because right now, in various different ways, this is the way that we can come together, right? Or in your neighborhood where you live, we're being asked to connect locally, right? So, because for me, like I said, I've always been a big dreamer about, okay, go out there in the big yonder. So for me, it was like, because everybody always asks, going, okay, well, when's the next run? And so I was like, well, guess what? Earth Day 2020, I'm taking off and I'm going to go around. And, in my big, hairy, audacious dream, it's going to be so supported that then I'm going to run around the rest of the planet. So for me, that was real, because I know it's really powerful to be able to meet people and go and do and be this example that I'm kind of in a way asking others to be in their own life.
Yeah.
So with COVID arriving, it had to rejig everything, but you can still reach people. I just may not go around the planet in this next few years, but I can go around the planet in this very way that we're doing this conversation right now. Right. So write the book and podcast and, be invited to do things. That to me is, maybe I even reach more kids that way. Right.
I mean, it's possible. Everybody's online and everybody's communicating this way now. And are you, I know we're towards the end of this conversation, but you brought up running quite a few times. And I really get that, because what you've done, if anything, I haven't ran in about a year.
Yeah. It's going to be fun when you do.
I'm going to run tonight. You've motivated me to go out and run. So I'm going to run tonight. I'm going to take my dogs. I'll take my female husky because she loves to run. So I'm going to take her. But are you familiar with comedians at all? Like, are you into stand-up?
Are those guys funny guys? Or is that what you're doing?
I mean, some of them could. Some of them could be.
Some of them could be.
Yeah.
There's a few that I think might have a career, maybe,
Yeah, there's at least 5. I mean, I'm pretty sure.
Maybe, yeah.
There's a guy, his name is Eddy Izzard. Do you know who that is?
He's an English guy.
Yeah, he did this thing. It was either last year or the year before last, where he was pretty much running across the country, across the world. He did a marathon every day, and I can't remember what he was running money for. However, you're doing essentially something pretty close to that. And if anything, with the Kickstarter, and then you could possibly reach out to him with all your fame and stuff, like, hey man, maybe we can collaborate, because he's got a big stage, you've got a big stage, so it's something you could possibly look into. His name is, like I said, Eddy Izzard.
Eddy Izzard, yeah. What was his famous show again? Or is he? No, he's a comedian.
You're right. He's a comedian, and he was known for cross-dressing in a time where it wasn't. Well, I mean, depending on who you ask, most people don't like it now, but it's fucking 2020. Do whatever you want, man. It's life is way too short. If I've learned anything this year from just losing these 2 people right here, Kobe Bryant, R.I.P. Fucking Chadwick Boseman, Wakanda forever, man. This year has sucked more on a bigger level. Just losing those 2 guys, those 2 beacons of light in any kind of community, right? And if we can do anything here, and I enjoy what you've talked about, running and talking to these damn kids, man. If anybody needs to talk to, it's kids these days. Kids need to know how strong they can actually be, how much of a voice they can actually have, because when we're gone, tomorrow, next week, 10, 20 years from now, these guys are going to be the ones leading the front lines, man. And there's so many people like yourself that could just sit back and go to sleep. But you were taking your platform, and you're taking your voices, and mind you, voices, all of the voices, you're using those as a positive way to tell these kids, man, you guys can do more. And man, I can't thank you enough for that, brother.
Thank you, man. Thanks.
So
thanks, man. Yeah, you nailed it, because that, for me, that is the fuel, that is that answering that call to the journey, that, like, I just happened to get it doing running. But it's amazing, because it really is the truth of it, right? If we just keep going, rest when we need to rest, sleep when we need to sleep, drink when you need to drink, get off the highway when you pass out, which I often had that happen, before a transport truck comes and runs you over.
Yeah.
But and it's obviously metaphorically for so many people too. It's all these transport trucks arrive to help you out. An aid station will open up to offer assistance. Somebody will just say, get out of the freaking way, here, get in, I mean, even, can I finish with one story?
Yeah, man.
We were running over it was amazing. We were running in Biola Battery, right? In, where is that? Is that Alabama?
What was it called?
Where was the state was it Georgia where they filmed Forrest Gump?
Oh, he was at was it Mississippi? I'll Google it real quick.
Down in that area, the day that literally we were running, and I'll never forget it, was this 10-mile bridge across the bayou, right? And as we're heading down towards, it was kind of a little bit late in the day. We'd had a few breaks, because we had some interviews with different news organizations and stuff. And we're running down this thing, and we're about to go down towards this bridge, and this guy's running towards us, and he's like, y'all have a nice day now, and remember, don't get blown off the bridge, right? And I hear this, ho, 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 right? And we're like, hey, get blown off the bridge. What the hell is he talking about? It's beautiful sunshine. Skies are like bluer than blue, right? I'm thinking like, oh, maybe he, smelled some of my wind as, going by. And so literally me and Steph, we go cruising across this bridge that's 6 miles long.
Yeah.
And halfway through along, it goes from like picture perfect beautiful to like winds and clouds coming over like this. It's almost like the 3 things of the apocalypse arrive in the first 3 miles over this bridge.
Yeah.
And literally it went from picture perfect to we were literally running for our lives with like hail sized like hail, with like wind that was coming in from below, from coming in from above, like when, remember in Forrest Gump when
rain was coming in everywhere.
Oh yeah. Like totally, that was the moment, right? And I remember like Steph had said months earlier going, wouldn't it be wild if we got to run through a tornado, right? And so literally we had our tornado moment in this 3 cells that came because we were so close to the what was the Atlantic Ocean, and then the
Gulf Coast and all that other stuff. Yeah.
So literally they come in these supercells, right? And so hit us full on to the point where I'm going, holy shit, we're gonna die. Like I'm grabbing stuff and she's like, what did you do to me? Why not? I never were having this meltdown in the middle of the bridge while I'm like, Steph, just keep your eyes open. We'll get there. And we're going, because our tour bus was still on the other side of the bridge waiting for us. Right. And my nephew was with us at the time. And he's like, oh my God, we're gonna die. And so in the middle of this freaking storm, this little Dodge Neon comes flying up. It's amazing what you remember. And I remember the taillights, and I'm like, oh, that looks like a Dodge Neon. And then the flashers start going on. Yeah. And out this door, I see that the wispy hair of this lady who instantly I thought of remember the grandma in Poltergeist? Yeah. The one that was like, go to the light, child, go to the light. That little lady on that bridge in the bayou where they'd filmed Forrest Gump. And we only knew that because we sat in the chair that earlier in that day where he was sitting on the bench. Yeah. So in that county, as we're about to get killed by this storm, this little old lady who's the poltergeist lady reincarnated goes, run to the car, children, run to the car. There's a tornado coming. So we literally were like, what, a tornado, right? Steph gets in the car, puts the seatbelt on. She's like, I'm not moving. I'm still in hero mode, going like, no, it's okay, ma'am. We're from Canada. We're running across and she literally never forget. She's like, what are you, stupid or something? Get in. There's a tornado watch. You got to get off, get off this bridge. I'm like, oh, tornado. So, get in, put the thing on. She takes us to the end of the thing, cussing us out the whole way, going like, what are you, stupid? You guys are, and still trying to tell her we're running for the planet and we're running from Canada. You see us all like, what are these guys doing, right? And, but that's like one story in a million of another local hero that literally showed up in that moment to go, holy crap, I need to help. Yeah. I'm going to help you guys move forward, right? So, and I mean, we had like hundreds of those stories, right?
Did you look at Stephanie and say, you asked for this when she said she was in a tornado? I would have never let it live her down.
I shouldn't have. I know I can't even take credit for it either. Like, because she really did. She was like, I wonder if I'll run through a tornado, right? And, I'm like, but she often would be like, Maddie, why did I sign up for this? I'm so stupid, or whatever. But no, she, but we would often go from, those would be the extremes, right? And that would happen before noon, right? And then we still have 7 hours of running to do. And, like the RV blowing up a few times and catching fire. And I've literally still got 6K to go to the RV. And I know Steph and our crew member and my cousin, are in there. I promised Steph's parents that I'd get her home alive if I could, right? So I'm just like, and you can't run any faster than you can run, right?
It's like a nightmare.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh my god, I hope they got out. Oh my god, I hope that's not smoke from the RV. Yes, right? It's like, he's, but then like that story where the RV almost blew up, a local hero came running out of his house with a fire extinguisher because he's like, holy shit, that thing's on fire. Yeah. Right. And and then a guy drives like 3 hours from we were in the Maritimes. And the guy, little Johnny, who's the same size as me, Johnny from Newfoundland, and drove 3 hours with a tow truck that was big enough that he could tow our 28-foot eco home on wheels, to the nearest Ford dealership, right? So, then ensued a whole other, part of the journey, and he didn't have to do it, but he said yes because he's like, these guys are doing this, holy crap, And then at the end, I'm like, what do I owe you, Johnny? And he's like, not owe me? Are you kidding me? You're doing something for my grandkids. He's like, I'm past what being able to make a difference, but this is for my grandkids, right? So that was his catalyst to come out and help us, right? And then not charge us for 6 hours worth of towing, which was probably $500-600, right? So
easily.
Yeah, easily, yeah. And so all these amazing in-person moments of people colliding with us as we ran this dream forward to go, I can't maybe run the way you guys are doing it because I'm not meant to do it that way, but I'm going to help you guys out. So they became local heroes, right? And so it's, and so even with COVID-19 being local, I've still met a ton of local heroes right in my hometown,
Yeah.
sometimes we realize that. I think that's been the biggest gift for me, having to sort of stay local,
Yeah.
is rediscovering actually all the local heroes that actually have always been here, right? Family and friends, and
Are you going to record any of this? This would be an outstanding documentary, man.
well, so I think
Just don't have Stephanie wish another goddamn tornado on you guys. And I mean, that's great for suspense if you want to keep it as a thriller. But I mean, I wouldn't want to try it twice.
yeah. Well, it's interesting because sometimes people have, people who know me know this is where I live. And so it's easier for them to say like that when I was literally getting ready to go do it again, but this time I was going to be actually doing it even more sort of low scale, because I was just going to push my own stuff and stay in people's houses and stay in hotels and stuff like that. But with to me, it's why I really pray that there's a vaccine sooner than later, because
Yeah.
I really feel in my heart kids really need this type of message to be able to, like what you just said, in real time, be able to like look them in the eye and go, you guys, you make my life better being alive. You are the smartest you right now, and you're only in the 3rd grade. But to really get kids to know how powerful they are and how smart they are and how beautiful they are, and how it's not about how many likes you get on TikTok or whatever the hell they're on right
Yeah.
now. Do you know what I mean though? Because
Yeah.
really, that's the truth of it, right? It's like, you have a 10-year-old that it's your experiment of little human in process, right? How
Yeah.
many moments I'm sure you've seen him or her, it's a her,
Him.
it's a
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
You've seen him succeed and you go like, yeah, and maybe you've seen him have a couple of defeats, right? But you cheer him just as much, or you help him learn the lesson that,
Yeah.
you know what, it's okay, because that's universal. I think you could say for all dads. I know my dad said that to me. As long as you tried your best,
Yeah.
and only if you've tried your best or if you've prepared in whatever it is that you're doing, doesn't matter what the outcome is.
Oh yeah.
Even if you're dead last in your first race, which for me, that was my first track meet, right? You're not a loser. Well, you never say that to your kid, right? But you're not a failure.
Yeah.
You're having to just learn, okay, here's your superhero power. Now you got to double up and triple up on your faith in yourself, right?
Well, I'll end it with this story. This one's very fun. So my kid just started doing karate within the last year.
Nice.
Just had his first tournament. He likes to walk around. I told him in the last one, he likes to walk around like Bruce Lee. His fucking arms are all out like that. And I'll get to
Are
that.
you his kick bag?
Huh?
Are you his kick bag?
I mean, kick, punch, elbow, knees. I mean, he's undiscriminative on pain he's trying to inflict on me.
Isn't
And
that great?
he's his first the first tournament they've done since COVID started out, and this was his first tournament altogether, right? So he goes and he gets first place his first time, right?
Yeah.
So he's walking around the house like with his little undershirt on and stuff, trying to bow out, and he's got a little chunk like I did when I was younger, right? So he's got a little bit of a belly, and you can see that walking around. And they released statistics not too long ago, and it showed his name, and he was 6th in the state, but only because he only had this one fight, right? So he just kept walking around. I told him, go upstairs, scoop the cat litter. You got to keep him grounded. You got to keep him humble, right? Go upstairs and scoop the cat litter. And as he's on his way up, he's like 6th in the state, and he's just rolling his shoulders all the way up. So
that's the truth, right?
Yeah, he's got a little personality in him.
But that's brilliant though, because you nailed it. It's like honoring you should celebrate that you are 6th in the state in that. And at the same time, like you said, and celebrate while you're going to scooping out the cat litter. Yeah. That's life, right? It's absolutely.
He slept with that trophy for like 2 nights. I had to go in there, and it's a huge, I mean, he's pretty tall for his age. I mean, height runs on both of our sides.
Yeah.
My wife's. And the trophy's almost as tall as him, and him just sitting there. I walked in there and he's got his arm around it and he's sleeping and stuff. And I'm like, God damn it.
That's the moment, right?
Yeah, man, it's one of those ones I wish it was a Kodak moment. I wish Kodak was still around type of thing.
Yeah, no kidding, eh? It's a Kodak moment right here for you.
Oh yeah, that's one of those things I'll never forget. And another thing I will never forget is the first time I heard the Ed Boys on TV, man. I want to thank you for sitting down. I know we went a little bit over, but I had
sorry about that. Yep.
No, I'm apologizing for you because I know you got shit to do. I'm like I said, today's my day off, so I got to do everything I wanted to do, right?
I'm just gonna run later. It's okay.
But yeah, I really appreciate everything you've done for my childhood and even continuing on to my son's childhood, man. This has been fun. I'll not contact you. I'll message you on the Kickstarter and a couple other things so we can get that going.
Yeah,
no problem.
Absolutely. And if
go ahead.
If you would like I have a photo of Ed that I'd be honored to send you, brother.
Oh man, that'd be great, man. I really appreciate it.
I'll sign it to you and your son, and we just tell me what your son's name when you'd send the text or whatever.
I got you, brother.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Where can people find you? I know we talked about your running and your book that's coming out. Everything coming soon. Hopefully, we can get you to record your runs, the trips, and everything in between. Because, like I said, that'd be a fascinating documentary.
For sure.
Well, where can people find you?
So my I don't even my Facebook. I'm on Facebook. You can friend me on Facebook. I think it's Matt Hill. I think it's just Matt Hill's page or whatever.
Yeah.
Not. But it's the one where I'm pointing to this little thing with yellow shoes on that says, "I love it. I love it here," or whatever it is. And then what is it?
The Matt Hill on Twitter.
Matt Hill. Yep.
At the Matt Hill on Twitter. No,
sure,
Nope.
Even I'll preface it saying I'm horrible on social media, like in terms of like posting and stuff. Except I do post a lot on my Facebook page for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But then my website is matt-hill.com.
Okay.
So that'll have a lot of updates and stuff on the run and the book, and that's going to get basically that's going to be redone by January. So
yeah,
because it's a couple of years old now, but yeah, man, it's I'm stoked, dude. So thanks for being part of this next rejigged, COVID altered steps of awesomeness. So I feel very honored to be a part of.
Man, you were the first guest. I want to, like we talked earlier, I want to get all three of you guys on here eventually. A lot of you guys are going to be harder to find. I've reached out to almost the entire cast.
Did you hear
what's that?
Did you hear back from Sam's agent or not yet?
I don't think so. I have to go back and look. I've gotten a whole bunch since we've been doing this. I tend to leave the people that I know are going to come on and just the people that aren't, running around and stuff to days off where I can sit down in long format and talk to you guys. But no, I haven't heard anything back from Sam yet.
Okay. All right. Well, keep me posted because, I can always text on you. It's really,
hey man, that'll work. But like I said before, man, you guys were such a huge part of my childhood and continuing on to my adulthood. I appreciate everything you guys have done for me.
Well, you are very, very lucky. I mean, sorry, but you are very fortunate. No, that's wrong too. Thank you, brother. It was excellent. And for real, just keep sharing and shining the light, man. And I am glad that the Eds had such an impact on your life, and also your tall son, soon to be taller than you. Karate kicker superstar that he is.
I hope so, man. I'm trying to retire early, and I need him to get 7 foot tall.
Brilliant, man. Well, y'all be safe and keep loving each other, man. Thank you so much.
You too, buddy. Take it easy, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, take care.
Later.